Hi guys, welcome back to SSA Athletics and welcome back to the Roundup. Don't forget to smash subscribe and check out our Facebook pages and the website. I'm Adam McCarthy of SSA Athletics. I'm hosting this with my co-commentator, Brian Bryans. We won't be seeing much of Brian Bryans because between you and me, he still hasn't got over the disqualification of the US mixed relay team for the 4x4. Between you and me, no one's told him that they've been reinstated. Can't believe I almost forgot to put these on as well. Today mainly being about going through the heats of the qualification, as it is the first day of the track in the Olympics. So we won't see much action. It's most people trying to go through the stages, through the phases, just doing enough potentially to qualify or do whatever they can to qualify. The one exception to this was the 10,000 metre final. What was new this year was the fact that we had preliminary rounds for qualification. Now the prelim rounds, many people have derided this possibility because it prevents those from lesser nations from saying, hey, I'm like in the past, I raced against Usain Bolt. And other people saying, well, actually no, this will help promote better sport and better competition. By allowing those who are better to potentially go in a little bit more fresh. You could say that's potentially unfair, but those people going through the preliminary rounds, if they get to the anything beyond the first round, well, you've done well, dear boy and dear girl. On the other hand, for some of these nations, this is the best they can put forward. They don't necessarily have a strong pool or a strong tradition as, let's say, the USA, Jamaica in sprinting, or let's say Ethiopia and Kenya in the long distance, though they don't have preliminary rounds, they just go straight into the heats. But when it comes to the sprinting, some of these nations, maybe they don't have this tradition like the Caribbean nation. Maybe they don't have the strong enough in the gene pool or strong enough depth in their athlete pool for sprinters of top quality. So therefore, having someone out there and having them race against these big names can be hugely beneficial for that athlete's psychology, but also giving them an achievement. And when it comes to the middle distance events, as we just meant, when it comes to the middle distance events, we have to talk about slightly the Ailish-McColgan trip. Yes, it's unfortunate, but these things happen. It's racing. You're racing one another, and you may get impeded. That athlete may get disqualified, or in the case of Inga Blitzen, you just punch him in the back and no one cares. But these things do happen. You may get dragged off the track. It's racing after all, and sometimes these are racing incidents, and you have to acknowledge that and try and improve next time. Try and make yourself, or you don't get yourself into that situation if it's likely you're going to end up in that situation. Or better still, just say, hey, this was a freak accident. I have to accept this. Another thing we have to talk about really is heat exhaustion. And we saw a lot of athletes struggling with the heat, struggling with that humidity in the middle and long distance events. The Australian at the end of the 10,000 metres collapsed down the home straight while being lapped. And that is unfortunate, and I hope it wasn't more than heat stroke. When you're doing middle and long distance events, you really need it roughly around about 10 degrees Celsius. Those are generally the best conditions for the longer events, naturally. If you're a sprinter, super hot sun, it's perfect. But when it's humid, so a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, and when it's hot as well, you can't necessarily evaporate that sweat that comes onto you, or comes from you, shall I say, when you're running. So it acts like a little bit of a blanket of heat around you, and it can be a little bit harder to run. Sometimes this comes down to fitness levels. Now, talking about fitness levels, due to a certain thing that definitely did happen in 2020, that prevented people from training. And what we're starting to see, and we kind of saw this to a lesser extent in the first day of the athletics, was those who were fit and were able to train through these lockdowns, and those who were not that fit. And it will come more later on when we see the semi-finals and the finals. Those can go through the rounds. If you can't go through the rounds, then you're not fit enough, quite frankly. But also what we saw was a case of 16 athletes on arrival who had to go into isolation. This can affect performance, mainly because you're not training for those certain number of days you are in. Although, if you have not done the training up to this point, then you're simply not fit. And how much of an effect does that have? Probably not a lot. Enough, potentially. It's probably going to be more psychological as well. If you miss 2 or 3 training sessions into your competition from this point of view, it's probably not going to make much of a difference. So the 10,000 metre final, and as in tradition, usually happens on the first or second day, in Olympic tradition as mentioned, but usually with these middle and long distance events, no one likes to take it out because no one wants to come to the point where they blow it, look like an idiot. And these finals in the middle and long distances are generally slow pace. Up until probably the last, or maybe the last 3 laps, depending on how many laps you got. And what was Kissa doing? I have no idea. No idea. He just kissed that medal sayonara. Was that Brian? Yeah, I agree. He was like a glorified pacemaker. I have no idea. And I was watching this thinking, what is this boy doing? He's gone massively out in the lead and he looked comfortable and calm. He didn't look like he was running scared or anything. And then when he dropped out and seemingly happy with himself, it's like, okay, maybe this was planned, but I don't see how it helped. Why? I can understand helping out your teammates, trying to get through, but this is an individual competition, so he wasn't one of the favourites. He's probably one of the outside guys, but you at least want to give yourself a chance to get onto the podium, not ruin your chance. And the fact that no one kept with him, so basically what happened is for the first 12 laps or so, he blasted out into the lead by 100 metres, but no one followed him. The pack itself was running around about 71-second laps. Well, I wouldn't mind spiking up against these boys at that pace. Let's put it that way. He basically made himself tired and ruined his opportunity of ever finishing the race, let alone podiuming, and then dropping out almost like a glorified pacemaker and I can't really see the effect what he was achieving. He wasn't gaining the benefits of being in the pack and wasn't gaining any benefits from being miles out in front either. But anyway, as we got round to it, the Bariga of Ethiopia won it, quite surprisingly to a certain extent. Cheptegei and Kiplomo, probably the 2 favourites to win it, came in 2nd and 3rd. The outside favourite, Ahmed, ran out in the last lap as expected to a certain degree. He doesn't have that pace. He needed a slow lap and he didn't need a massive kick, and unfortunately he can't keep it up over that last lap, over the last 400. We got some reasonably okay throws, but then yet again this is the discus, so it's about qualifying that matters. And looking at the qualification, the winner, really, the furthest throw was Stoll. Guddias, I'm not going to pronounce that name at all, with 65.94, and Denny with a 65.13. Automatic qualification is what you need here, really, to give yourself a chance. Denny being 3rd was really good for him. I didn't quite necessarily expect him to be that high, if truth be told. For him, getting there even to the final when he thought he may have missed the qualifications because he may have self-isolated, because the whole entire Australian team could have potentially needed to self-isolate if they failed a PCR test, which he didn't do. Let's hope you don't fail any other kind of test either. And then nearly missing qualification, the call-up itself from the room and going where the coaches were instead is something you just really have to shake out. But anyway, so he pushed that behind him and threw an incredible 65 metres and 13 centimetres to qualify as really the third furthest, in that tournament. For me, I think that Stoll is probably the most likely to win it. I mean, he's the oldest there, one of the most experienced, and he's just been so good throughout most of the Diamond Leagues.
Damn boy, it has to be Christian Jackson.
What's
That'd be my
that?
favourite. That boy looks like he just walked up straight off the street, and boy, he's got so long arms. He just, woo, just rocks up in a shirt and short. That's why it's so much a natural talent.
I get your point, but he's still quite young. Yes, he's got a natural, amazing body designed for throwing, but at the same time, some of these boys have really stepped up their mark and pushed on to these Olympics. So I'm not quite sure he will make it, if I'm truth be told, from my own personal opinion. But it's nice that you've finally come out your doldrums and actually provided something for this episode. Anyway. We have the final of the mixed 4x4. I think the USA are going to win it. And I think the USA, Poland probably, yes. Those are probably Poland, Jamaica and the USA are probably my favourite picks for this. Yet again, it's one of those new ones you don't quite know who's going to win it, what's going to do. We know now that, well, potentially through the last year or through the World Relay Championships as well, that you really have to go male, female, or try and risk it and go male, male, female, female. The reason being is because the first legs are slower, so you want to have someone hard to push out to try and give yourself an advantage on that, effectively the longer stagger. When it comes to the shorter stagger, it doesn't matter so much, but where the weaknesses lie is where you place your females. And if you try and put the female out in the lead in front by trying to gain a massive advantage, they're not necessarily gaining an advantage for being in the pack, and they basically act as a hare to be chased down. So you generally want to give yourself the best chance. So generally male, female, or male, female tends to be the main two formations when it comes to these mixed relays as of now, the new meta.
Basically, you need a 8-second lead because it's roughly a 6-second difference between the men and the women.
About it. Also, we got the women's 100 meters. Now, that'll be an interesting final. I think Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce may win it. Me personally, I know that Brian thinks Dina Asher-Smith, but it could be someone from outside, you know, but those are the main two that have been battling down. I think they're going to be more for the 200.
To cap the day off, we have Ethiopia and Uganda with their medals from the 10,000 meters. Ethiopia with a gold and Uganda with a bronze and silver.
Anyway, you have been listening to the SSA roundup of the first day of the athletic events. Don't forget to smash subscribe, check out our socials and our website. I'm Adam McCarthy. He's Brian Bryans, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.